Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to your Lunch Break Live. My name is Ivana. If you are new here, if you're not, thank you for coming back. Today is Wednesday, May the 19th. I just had to look down at my calendar because it feels crazy to think that it's May the 19th already. But here we are. So today I am joined by a very special guest, and this is I say new, we'll go over that in a minute, but the new president and CEO of the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District, which we're going to call HABD just for clarity later on. This is David Northern Sr. Again, he is the new CEO and president of HABD. He just took the position in February, was selected at the end of last year. So David, thank you so much for coming on today to join me, talk a little bit about public housing in the Birmingham district, which we know kind of spans across Jefferson County, and also just about public housing, the problems that public housing faces in general.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for having me on here. I'm excited about it, excited about the new role, and very excited and pleased with Birmingham since I've been here.
Well, David, we know that today is it's very timely for you to be joining us because just yesterday, and I have to look at this exact name so I don't mess it up, but you were sworn in as the president of the Public Housing Authorities Directors Association. That's a national group, and it's a big honor. So congratulations there.
Thank you for that. You know, that's something that meant very much to me. I worked really hard in a career of spanning over 26 years, and to be selected by your peers to lead an organization like that is something that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, we know I want to, before we get into some of the more specific questions about the specific issues and maybe things that are going well for Birmingham and public housing, I want to talk to you a little bit about your past. I know that you have been in public housing for over 25 years, I believe, and you have an interesting background. You're a single dad of 2 teenagers, and God be with you there. And we also know that you actually played football at Ball State. So give us a little bit of your story growing up and what led you to go into public housing.
Well, you know, growing up in Gary, Indiana, it was, a challenging time during, at that point in time in Gary. It was the murder capital. My mom was a very intelligent young lady, but she ended up getting pregnant early and had me when she was 17. And my dad was in and out of jail, so he really wasn't around in terms of my biological dad. So I was kind of raised by my grandmother during that tough time. But my mom stayed engaged in my life, a lot of families and friends. And, sports kind of kept me out the streets and kept me on a narrow path, doing what's right. So after I finished high school and did pretty decent in football, things like that, I decided to go off to Ball State University, play football. I boxed, won Golden Gloves. And so I just focused on education in a sense. But my goal, like every high school football player, is to go pro. So that was my whole focus. But in college, injuries happened, and I had to end my career in terms of football and change my major from criminal justice to accounting. I always wanted to make sure I kept the streets clean or did something to improve the community. Changed my major to accounting, so I went to work with the FBI and decided not to go with the FBI. And in order to stay in college, I started as a housing manager, RA in college. Helped pay for my education, and that started my housing career. So student housing kind of started it. Graduated from college with an accounting degree. And I went back home, and the East Chicago Housing and Community Development Authority had a position in accounting, and that's where it all started at.
It's interesting because number one, RAs are usually not the most popular people in college. That's usually not somebody that's not a role you take on to make friends, right? And also, it's interesting that public housing is not maybe a career that a lot of people look at and say, you know what, that's what I want to do. So I know that you originally got that accounting degree, you planned to work for the FBI. How did that fold into public housing? And was that just a position that was open and you needed a job? Or did you think that you could make a difference in public housing at that point?
Well, I had 2 job offers, actually. One was in Addison Engine Company in Indianapolis, Indiana, and the other one was at the East Chicago Housing Authority in accounting. And, I decided to go back home versus, going to Indianapolis. So East Chicago is right next to Gary, Indiana. So that's where I started at. And when I got into the field in accounting, it was a smaller agency, so I played a number of roles. I was an accountant. I did accounts receivable. I did procurement. I managed a capital fund program, which dealt with construction and construction-related dollars. I dealt with investments. And since we was housing and community development, I did project management on construction projects also. and just found that was my passion. I really saw that I had a career path in that area. And actually, what really helped me out, I took on an assignment that we had as a organization, and HUD grade us on an annual basis. And I took on an assignment to lead the reporting for our grade at the Housing Authority. Managed it well, ended up becoming a high performer. My boss took me to DC, where I went to the HUD's field office. Actually, Cuomo was the secretary at the time, so I got an opportunity to meet the HUD secretary. And then I found, wow, I can really make a big difference in here in terms of this field, and it's a career path. But before that, I never even heard of Housing Authority. I never looked at that as a possible career path. But now I see it as a very fruitful career, and then it helps a lot of people.
Again, over 2 decades in the public housing field of a career. Again, you were selected to lead the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District in late September of 2020. You just started your job in February, so I know that you're pretty fresh on the job. But what are you seeing so far in Birmingham's public housing authority? What are you seeing on the ground when you step into these different public housing units? And what are we doing well? Let's start with that.
Well, one thing is for certain, leading this organization, which is the largest organization in Alabama in terms of housing authorities, is, it's a great honor also in itself. And being selected, after doing a national search was a great honor. But I looked at it as a great opportunity. All housing authorities over years HUD underfunded us, so we have a lot of obstacles to overcome related to long-term maintenance challenges. But Birmingham has a wealth of resources in terms of funding and to make some repairs that we have with some of the properties that we own. But also we need to really focus on repositioning. We have a number of legacy properties that's traditional public housing units that was created 50 or so years ago. And, we really need to do something there. With the community, looking at downtown, I live downtown. I'm looking out the window now, and it's just amazing, the growth and the opportunity around Birmingham. And so coupled with our community partners, our stakeholders, the local elected officials, our residents and clients that we work and partner with, I think that community atmosphere is here in Birmingham, and that's one of the strongest points that we have as an organization.
There's a lot of people that look at things like crime rates, and especially if you just go on any news organization, you can see that there has unfortunately been a flurry of crime recently. What do you think that you and the Housing Authority can do to initiate public safety in the public housing communities, to help with public safety? What can be done there on a level that you can actually do? You can't just talk about and say, well, we wish that this could happen. What can you get your hands dirty and do there?
Well, our board of directors, especially our chairman, Dr. Hood, really, charged me and my team with making a difference. That's one of the high priorities that we have. We have a number of communities. There's a number of people. We deal with the communities most vulnerable in terms of elderly and young people with disabilities. And so we can't talk about it like you said. We got to be about it. And so a few weeks ago, about a month back, we made an announcement that we're dedicating $6 million to public safety goals. And so a couple of weeks ago, we signed a contract with Alabama Power to increase our cameras, our lighting, license plate readers. We want to deter as much. We know it takes personal responsibility for people to decide to stop shooting and stop buying and selling the drugs and doing some of the things that's wrong. But the Housing Authority is playing this part. We signed a contract with Alabama Power to put over 496 new cameras. Now, these are not cameras that was already up. These brand new cameras throughout our communities. We're doing 75 license plate readers, and we're doing over 70 plus flood and area lights to really increase. We did a lighting study, and that was something that was, I was very proud about. We made that announcement. We set aside the funding, and my team worked with our community partners to make sure that happened. Now, the police have opportunity. All the police in the state of Alabama can tie into our cameras and look at our cameras if needed to be to solve crimes. We have a couple murders that happened in Southtown before I came here, and we was able to solve those murders because of the cameras that we had in Southtown. Now we're equipping all our communities with those type of cameras so we can deter the crime element. But not just with that, we're partnering and bringing after school programs, summer programs, whether it's sports, non-traditional sports like boxing and karate and wrestling, chess, tennis, golf, things like that. We're working with Stream, which is like a STEM program, but it includes reading and math to provide that as an educational opportunity for our young people, just get people engaged. And we're working with a local group, GPS, to do parent and client engagement. So we really want to partner with our clients that we serve and try to create a better element. But at the end of the day, again, I encourage people to take personal responsibility and just cut out some of the things that's going on.
Ask you two follow-ups on that. Number one, that after school program that you mentioned about sports and other activities, is that going to be available over the summer?
Yes. We're kicking it off in the summer. Our goal is to have it starting in June. We're working with the partners now. And it's three different methods. One, we know it's important that we engage our clients, our parents, to make sure that young people stay engaged also. So we're working with a group to make sure that's possible. We're doing various surveys to see what's the needs, what's the wants. And then STREAM is, that program that's dealing with reading and math, but also like STEM. And so we'll have that available for our young people also. Our goal is to serve close to 900 young people K through 8 with that program. And then our non-traditional sports, everybody play basketball and football, but we want to bring other opportunities to our young people so they can be engaged and they can be exposed to other type of activities. You never know, they may end up being the next Tiger Woods coming out of Birmingham Housing Authority.
I know that everybody could celebrate that one. Now, Let me ask you too, you talk about the youth and you talk about young people in these public housing communities. We have seen that some families that live in public housing have been there for generations.
Yes.
What are you and the Housing Authority doing, or what would you like to do to break that cycle?
Well, one of the things that's for certain is that public housing was traditionally developed for permanent housing, right? A lot of people say it's supposed to be temporary housing, but it was developed as permanent housing. But we have to break that monotony and get at the mindset of having people be on there long term and passing it down through generations. We want to create different opportunities. So one of the things the Housing Authority has already done, we applied to HUD to be a move to work agency. And being a move to work agency gives us the local flexibility to create programs that help our clients move along the spectrum of self-sufficiency, whether it's jobs or education. We're working with our clients now to train them to be resident-owned businesses. So we have a lot of development that's happening and going on. And we just want to give those educational opportunities. There's a number of great universities here. When we talked about repositioning over the next 10 years, I can see close to 800 million in terms of repositioning our property, demolition, rebuilding, construction, those type of fields. Also relocating individuals. It's just so many opportunities, and we want to make sure our clients are engaged in that process and they win as a result of it.
We talked about something that you believe Birmingham and the Birmingham district is doing well, and that is community partners and involvement and the opportunities in Birmingham. That's what you said a minute ago when I asked you. It's not my thinking, although I am a lover of Birmingham, I have to say. But that is what we're doing well. What do you think that Birmingham is not doing so well in when it comes to public housing?
Well, I think we have to really refocus our energy and engage with our clients in a better way. One of the things I heard from our clients and our resident leaders is that they didn't hear from us enough. And so we're working on that messaging and engagement. Our team members at the Housing Authority, along with our board, we're putting resources in place to make sure that our message get out. And you probably can see that. We increased our social media. First week I started, we created the Office of Constituent Concerns, where individuals can come ask any question they want if they're not getting the work orders resolved, if they're not hearing or understanding what's taking place with relocation or developments. They can ask that question, and we're responding to them in a 48-hour time frame. And we're cataloging those so we can understand what are the needs. Do we need more training? Do we need more messaging? Do we need to have more community meetings with our clientele or the citizens at large? And since we started that, we've had over 500, 600 concerns come in, and it's a 98% accuracy rate in terms of responding to them on a timely manner. Now, every time somebody asks have a concern, they may not hear what they want to hear, but they'll get responded to.
That's a good point to make. Now, you mentioned relocation a minute ago,
Yeah.
and something in an area that a lot of people, especially in the south side of Birmingham, are familiar with is the public housing community that is called Southtown. Now, a lot of people, especially those who maybe either work at UAB or attend UAB, are familiar with, or who frequent the south side of Birmingham areas. Now, this kind of redevelopment of Southtown has been something that has been discussed for years. So let me ask you, number one, I know that there have been a lot of families who have left Southtown who have been relocated. And so let me ask you, number one, what is being done for those people who are living in Southtown to relocate them to another public housing community?
Well, it's always challenging when you have inventory like Southtown. And again, we have a number of sites that's like that large 400, 300, 500 unit properties that's been around for years. That's really in need of repair and I wouldn't even say repair. A lot of them need to come down. And whenever you bring a property like that down, you have to relocate people. And now HUD has some guidelines around relocation where we help and help the families locate, relocatable properties for them to move into. We provide them subsidies to help them with that moving expenses. We have a team of individuals that's working with the clients to ensure that their needs are being met. And it's a change. A lot of them, those families, not used to some of the living conditions that they may have to move to. In public housing, for example, we take care of some of the utilities firsthand in a Section 8 voucher program or housing choice voucher program where some of them may have to go to. They have to worry about dealing with their own utilities or cutting their own grass maybe. And, but it's something that has to happen when we talk about demolition, like the Southtown development. I wasn't here when Southtown started, but I'm here now. And so that's something that I'm taking in my hands in terms of the leader of the housing authority to make sure we do it the right way. So we're making some changes, some adjustments, and we're really working closely with our clients to ensure that they have the best opportunities in terms of relocation.
What do you say to people who say, well, they're just taking people out of Southtown so they can demolish those buildings and make that land, which is a very in demand land and very in demand area, and use that land for something that's not public housing? What do you say to people who believe people are just being pushed out with nowhere to go?
I understand that. It's like I said, people have lived there for 60 years and 50 years in some cases, and you may not understand why we have to do it. But with the total backlog of repairs that's needed in some of these properties, a lot of them are sitting on land that's may have environmental issues. Southtown is some very valuable land, but the units overall was traditional barrack style housing, and it doesn't meet the needs of today's society. And we have to do something different. We don't have the money to maintain them at the level of maintenance. And so decreasing the density, which would decrease some of the crime, but also bring in some mixed use and some commercial in will help the community overall. So I understand, from the standpoint of individuals that's lived there, grew up there, and has a passion for that site. But also, I do understand that some people live in some situations that they need better environments. Accessibility. In the 40s and 50s, accessibility issues wasn't the same as it is now. And so it's hard to go in and revamp those properties and make them accessible for individuals that may need them. We have a lot of seniors or people with disabilities on our properties. We only have one senior property right now. And so we need to provide more senior properties and more properties for individuals with disabilities so they can live comfortably also. And having Southtown come down, we have that opportunity to bring some properties like that back so that, we have a diverse population of people living there.
Is that what you envisioned for the future of the Southtown property?
Yes, a lot of what Southtown is, like I said before, Southtown started before I arrived, and some of the plans are already set in stone of what's coming back or what will happen. But we're making adjustments to ensure that we provide the best possible opportunity for individuals that that qualify to come back to those properties to come back. And and it was 500 plus units there. We only bring in 200 plus affordable housing units back. The other units would be market rate housing and then commercial. And so with that being said, we have to, continually build other units throughout the city to occupy some of those needs for individuals that need affordable housing. Just recently, the Housing Authority put out an RFQ, a request for qualifications for development opportunities. And it's kind of like we're open for business. And so we listed our major properties, our legacy properties that's large like Southtown was, along with any vacant land, any buildings, individual developers can bring properties that they may own and have ownership in already. We just want to make sure that we do what we can to build affordable housing, but also partner and bring commercial. Because, I look at it as workforce housing because our clients need jobs. And so if we just build housing without having, commercial opportunities, we'll continue to have the same situations.
So just to clarify, you would like to, I'm not sure if it's fair to say your plan, but your plan or you would like to do is to build more public housing units, build more places where people can apply to live, and also have different businesses and mixed use properties involved there as well.
I'm gonna correct you now, right? So no more public housing. We're out of that. The mindset is totally different. It's affordable housing. And even for us, a housing authority, we have to get out the mindset of traditional housing authorities. We have to have a business mindset. We have to be entrepreneurs. We can't depend on the tax dollars long term. We have to make sure that we're partners at the table, that we're affordable housing developers and we're affordable housing managers. And we're working with community partners to help our clients come along the spectrum of self-sufficiency. So yes, we want to build more affordable housing to meet today's needs of the clients that we have, but also ensure that it's tied to kind of workforce type housing where they have opportunities to work, live, and play in grocery stores, good quality schools, and safe environments also.
I've got a question from somebody watching our video live, and it's from Cheryl. And I think this is going to speak to you because I know you're a single dad of 2 teenagers. Cheryl says, what are you doing to help single women with children? And I'll just add in single dads with children as well.
Yeah, well, we have a number of opportunities. We have our resident engagement where we can work with families to help them with educational goals. We can help them, with job opportunities. And we're, like I mentioned earlier, we applied to be a move to work agency, which gives us that flexibility to help that. Another thing that's happening, we're in the process of applying for a Youth Build grant. And Youth Build is a program that works with young people from 16 to 24 that may not have graduated high school or been in and out of, tough situations, whether it was incarcerations or not, but they have a goal to overcome those obstacles and get to the next level. That's a construction-based program. It's a pre-apprenticeship program. And as I talked about all the repositioning we have, it'll be a lot of job opportunities. And so individuals can come along through Youth Build, get a high school diploma, get a job, and have that flexibility in terms of stabilizing the home environment also. And so it's a number of various programs. Now, we may not directly do it, but indirectly we'll work with partners to help those clients that the young lady mentioned in that type of situation.
And last question, which is probably the hardest, and that is, what is your number one goal for being the new president and CEO of HIBD? What do you want to do?
I want to ensure that the Birmingham Housing Authority is a top-rated organization, providing the best services to all the clients and meeting the needs of the citizens here in Birmingham. And I know it's a challenge, right? Every federal or state or local organization that's funded with tax dollars, has specific goals. And as I said before, we have to have a business mindset, but we have to really think about our clients, and we have to understand. And I tell my team this all the time: we get paid to deal with challenging people and deal with challenging situations, and we got to remember that. And that's why we have to have that business mindset and treat our the people that we serve, which is our clients, with respect and dignity, and work hard for them and the citizens around.
David, thank you so much for coming today and being able to articulate and talk about what is happening with the Housing Authority, and especially kind of explain that situation maybe for people who are not familiar with the public housing or the affordable housing, I think as we're calling it now, authority, and what the challenges they face. So I really appreciate that, and for shedding a light on those.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to spread that message. And, anytime that we can help in terms of the Housing Authority, giving the message out to the citizens or answering questions. We have the Office of Constitutional Concerns. Anyone, whether they're clients or not, can reach out to that office. It's on our website, www.habd.net, and just ask questions and we'll respond to you. So thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
David, thank you. Everybody watching, thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow.